Hey everyone, Jonas Allen with Cold Outdoorsman. I want to share with you today a new boot that's come out for winter 2017-2018 from Wolverine. Now it's a winter boot from Wolverine, and a lot of times that's not a combination you hear. You hear Wolverine, you think Wolverine, you think tough work boots. Well, these Wolverine Vortex boas are going to be tough on winter. So they're living up to that brand reputation. There are a few key items of this that I really want to share with you. One is they're waterproof. So it says waterproof, but it actually is too. They have this rubber outsole here all along this vulnerable area, along the toes, the inside, the outside, the back. That really keeps all of that snow that might be gathering up to about 2.5 inches, keeps that off of your socks. And as you all know, it's very important to keep your feet dry if you want to keep them warm. Those of us with Raynaud's understand when you're trying to keep your extremities warm, you've got to keep them dry. Having waterproof winter boots is a real boon to those attempts. Another element that's really interesting here for the Wolverine Vortex boa is the fact that it's boa. A lot of times if you're used to snowboarding or skiing, you hear of the boa bindings. Well, it's interesting to see it on a winter boot. So you've noticed here that there's not a lot of laces. In fact, there are no laces. Instead, Wolverine's chosen with the Vortex boa to use the boa system. That's not a binding, it's kind of a lacing system. Now, when you're out there in the cold and you've got gloved fingers, it's really hard to be very intricate and mess with tying of a lace. It's also a complete pain in the butt when you're out there and your shoes come untied, your winter boots come untied. It interrupts the fun, but it also might mean that you have to take off your gloves and retie them, and that makes you cold. With the boa system, it's really very simple, and it actually keeps your boots pretty tight as well. So instead of having lacing to do, everything is up here. It goes all the way up the shank. When you want to tighten the boot, instead of tying it, you simply press down the circle and twist. I'll twist here. You can see it tighten up. See, it tightens up there. There's no way this is going to come undone. There's nothing to come untied. This is insanely strong a material as well. It's not. You'd have to get in there and actually physically cut it to get that to break. So this is very good. It keeps your feet very secure. You can tighten it as tight as you want, I mean within the limitations of the binding itself. And that's good, or you can keep it loose. It's kind of like when you're tying a shoe. It also, because it's not going to come undone, it will keep all the snow out, all the moisture out. It keeps that nice and snug around your ankle. When it's time to undo your shoe, undo your winter boot, simply lift up on the circle, pull it out, and there you go. You can pull your foot out. Really super simple. That's very nice and very important when you're getting out there. You want to have fun in the cold, you got to get these boots on really quickly. Now speaking of cold, a lot of the winter boots you'll see on the market have 3M Thinsulate insulation, and that's very important when you're trying to keep your feet warm. This also has 3M Thinsulate insulation, but it's got something different. And by that I mean it's 50% better, at least in specifications. Most of the winter boots have 200 grams of Thinsulate, maybe 400 grams on those really warm boots. I've used those and they work great. The Wolverine Vortex boa, they have 600 grams of 3M Thinsulate insulation. This is the most insulated boot I've seen. 600 grams is unheard of. That's amazing. I like that. I need to keep my feet warm. That's going to help me do it. Another thing to consider when you're trying to keep your feet warm is just how much coverage you have. That 3M Thinsulate is all the way here in the body, but it also goes all the way up the shank. Now you've probably noticed that this seems pretty tall. It seems like a really big clunky boot. Well, it's not that clunky, but it is big. So just for comparison, take a gander. Here's the Vortex boa. Here is the Oboz Bridger. Now this I reviewed last winter. It has the 400 grams of Thinsulate, kept my feet warm. But look how much higher the boa is than the Bridger, right? That's notably higher. So there's additional coverage here on your ankle. That's good for keeping the moisture out because this is all leather, the leather upper. So that's good for keeping moisture out, but it's also good for insulation. All right, well what about say the Baffin boots? I've reviewed the Baffin winter boots in the past. These are even actually shorter than the Oboz Bridger. Look at that. It's notably shorter. So these Vortex boas, these guys are going to keep your feet warm. As you read the review, which is linked below, and you can see in the playlist that I have, there's a new technology that's been out for a couple of seasons called Vibram Arctic Grip. And you can see it here in the video, these little blue specks, and I'm not sure if you can see the color differentiation. It's a little lighter gray than sort of the dark black of the sole. And a Vibram is a very, very advanced sole. Lots of boots use it. Arctic Grip has just been out. It's used by several boots. It's increasingly being used by more. What it does is, I don't know if there's something special in the little blue dots. I'm not sure the science behind it. But when the Vibram Arctic Grip hits ice, anything that's freezing or below, it gets insanely sticky. Now, to the touch, it feels like a cat's tongue, that little sort of tacky feel, like sandpaper almost. It's not sandpaper when it hits the ice. It turns into like the death grip. And it's pretty remarkable. Again, I recommend you check out the playlist that I have. I have a video of this showing a boot without Vibram Arctic Grip on a big pad of ice, and then a boot with it. That's not the Vortex boas, but the technology is the same, the Vibram Arctic Grip. I had a pretty bad spill several years ago, and I hurt myself pretty badly on the ice. I hate walking on the ice, and Vibram Arctic Grip, frankly, has been, for me, at least a sort of a psychological lifesaver. I love to see it on these Wolverine Vortex boas. So with all that being said, it's got the Vibram Arctic Grip. They're waterproof, really high shank, nice and supported. The boa is interesting for a binding or lacing, and then 600 grams of 3M Thinsulate. That package really seems to me to make the Wolverine Vortex boa the ultimate winter boot. I'm thrilled that I had a chance to share this with you today. For the full review, go back to Cold Outdoorsman. And thank you very much for your time and attention.